All right. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I am excited for this pop-up meditation today. What we're going to be tracking on is Chiron. So, with that, let me get us recorded, done. We're ready to rock and roll. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And while it's a common part of astrology, it's also been something for me personally that the way I've always related to Chiron is someone has a crisis in their life and it's like, well, how old are you? Okay, cool. You're somewhere within the range of a couple years on either side of your 50s, or sometimes even strongly tracking, mid 40s to late 50s. And it is evidence that the Chiron return is what is going down. 30s are our Saturn return, right? So 30, 60, every time we have, and to give you a construct for what a return is, it is referencing if our solar return, or I should say, our solar return happens every time we have our birthday, right? It takes us 1 year to track around the sun. Similarly, the orbit for other planets is not on a yearly timetable, obviously. They are on much more extended, or planets or aspects in the astrological space. So Chiron in particular is at the 50-year mark, and it heralds in powerful, powerful Greek mythology. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the mythology. I'm going to give you an overview for the mythology, but more importantly, we're going to drop in to why Chiron is so significant for this day and age. So starting with, first and foremost, the current astrology, Chiron has been in the natal chart, if you will, for the consciousness and the different aspects. Sometimes planets have more, and not that Chiron's a planet, but they in the whole scheme of the astrological aspects, at different times there's different strengths that come on board, where certain things that we're experiencing in the collective consciousness, the astrology is a reflection of what that experience is. And Chiron's been pretty heightened, if you will, like having a much louder voice in the collective consciousness since really for a while, but especially since the fall. And as the wounded healer, it's relevant for our conversation today, and so much of the transition that we're seeing culturally, not only in our personal lives, but culturally all around us. So I wanted to take you in. I pulled some notes from one of my favorite books on Chiron by Barbara Hand-Clow, and I wanted to just go over a couple of key points that jumped out for me as it relates to Chiron, to bring us more into Chiron's story, beyond the mythology, and really into some of the context and the meaning for us to be connecting to. So first and foremost, Chiron rules synchronicity and divination. So anytime we're in one of those moments where we're really feeling an expansion in our abilities for divination or synchronicity, or seeking to call it in a greater degree and aspect, it's because of that it's Chiron that's ruling that space, if you will. It is the mythology that begins to take over when we step into that space. Chiron was known as a great Greek teacher and initiated the healers, the warriors, and the magicians within his ancient healing temple of Asclepian. Totally butchering that. He was known as the priest king of the centaurs, and his grandparents were Uranus and Gaia, Father Heaven and Mother Earth, and his parents were Kronos and Rhea. So Kronos being represented by Saturn in the cosmos, and Rhea being represented by Venus. What Chiron is known for is being half horse and half man. And from the psyche, from the perspective of the human psyche, it is the merger. He's representing the mythology is representing the merger of our animalistic nature with our human consciousness. And it's all about Chiron represents union. And so as it's relating to what are we, when we're embracing synchronicity and when we hit the 50-year mark, when Chiron makes its return for each of us in our life journey, truly what Chiron is calling forward is that bridge, right? The merging between the lower and the higher dimensions. And so, as the great Greek teacher that oversaw initiation into the mystery teachings, what Hand starts to break down is why, where did Chiron's power to do this come from? And it really relates to, again, the construct of initiation and the journey we take in our soul's evolutionary process to align with our own inner powers and being able to bring our full creativity into bloom, for it to blossom into bloom. And it's at this stage in our soul's journey. What's interesting, also another interesting note about Chiron is that astrologically, the aspect that represents Chiron was discovered very late in 1977. And so when we think about what was happening in the 70s, we were shifting out of and really beginning this initiatory period to shift into the Aquarian age. And so we're met with Chiron primarily now in this transition as every culture in society goes through a massive, massive transition. It comes to the forefront that there's usually in a transition a loss of our connection to destiny. It's as though we start to sleepwalk and dream without the road signs as we move through the transition of the ages. And so as you're sitting with your purpose, as you're sitting with the different variables and factors in your life, as you feel that lack of purpose, it truly is a Chiron moment that is bringing it forward, because it is the significance is that it's that moment in time where your soul is truly seeking to initiate at another level, to initiate into what we know today as the sacred work, right? And what the sacred work has been represented by in the past, it was always held by the community. It was held by the culture, especially in the matriarchal societies. And so in that was the construct of the sacred marriage, where the priestess would identify the priest king, and then the priest king would sacrifice himself. And this was a practice very common pretty much up through 3500 BC. And then it started to shift, where the priest king started to take on more power and hold more significance in the community. And so then it shifted to being that of the son of the priestess and the priest king, and then eventually faded away. And in Greek mythology, this is symbolized by the story of Jason and the golden fleece. But what's here for us is that Chiron is here to help us recapture our desires and our vision, and help us remember that we are truly here to shape reality, that we have the power to shape reality. We have the power to take over time, right? And make time work for us instead of the other way around. In the modern sense, Handclough correlates Chiron to that of Mr. Miyagi, right? Our modern constructs would be that of Mr. Miyagi. And so while we have labeled Chiron as the wounded healer, truly what's happening again is that sacred marriage of the human, of the animalistic sides of who we are, of the inner masculine and feminine, those inner forces, right, of our external relationship to the world, as well as our internal relationship. And so it brings to the forefront, as we're shifting through this cultural end and experiencing the overwhelm and recognizing in our society the need for survival, right? And things just kind of going to hell in a handbasket, so to speak. It is truly the need and the opportunity for each of us on the individual level to connect to our destiny, to not get lost and caught up in the fray. And truly, Chiron's initiation and his mythology is all about, his whole story and journey is all about facing that chaos, facing the red flame, facing the ruby flame, and emerging, bringing spirit back into the earthly realm. And so for each of us today, what we get to look at is the eternal dance between process and goals, right? Where the feminine is focused on the process and the sacredness that comes within the work, and the masculine being focused on the goal. And we can't have one without the other. If we get too caught in the process, we'll just keep processing. And for those of you that are creators, right, you could create and create and create and create. The goals are the masculine aspect that call in the actual manifestation. And so it's the divine balance between process and goals that we really get to embrace in our own individual work as we journey in. It is ultimately the mythological quest from being totally wrapped up in the outer world, right? Going out into the outer world, but this time not doing it from that highly control, goal-oriented perspective, but truly being able to embrace the inner transmutation that is happening in the process of taking our truth out into the world. And so that's Chiron for us. And what we get to do now, as I love to do, is discover what this Chiron essence and force is for each of us. Because again, it is an aspect, especially as we start this astrological new year, that is got a loud voice, right? And it is the aspect that we are all in need of, especially from the individual perspective. We are all in need of to journey forth, right? To do this work and to understand as we call in at a much greater capacity, as we call in who we are, what we are up to, and whether we can see what that looks like or not. Right? It's this force that is here to help us put the new filters on, so to speak, and see into the dimension in the realm that is seeking to birth itself in our daily work and our reality. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath in and exhaling out. And another nice deep breath in and exhaling out and settling into the room and to the moment. And just take a moment to feel that inner force within you, allowing your subtle energy to rise to the surface. Feeling your skin meeting the air. Noticing is that if the air is hot and humid, mild and humid, or maybe cool, dry, very dry. And again, breathing in and imagining a slight breeze tickling the hairs on your arms, causing them to rise. And again, breathing in and feeling the sun shining down as we begin our light link. And now imagining its warmth. Imagining its warmth as you now tune in to the earth beneath your feet. And lies like a blast of heat that melts your muscles like a sauna. Imagining that golden light like a wave rolling through and over and under your skin, causing all of your body to sink in that much deeper. Chiron heralds the initiation into our inner realm. And so as you shift your focus to the earth and the marriage of the heaven, the golden light, and the earth, the silvery luminescent light, we find ourselves as the bridge between both realms, much like the Chiron, half horse, some say half unicorn, and half man. And it's interesting that the horse aspect of Chiron was on the bottom as the centaur, and the man was on the top. And so, what I want to have you do is we call forward these two forces, asking them to come together in our heart. Feel into your own animalistic nature. What does it feel like? Not to imagine yourself as a horse, but to just really feel that primal force within you. Call that up. Chiron and the timing of his mythology in the Greek space was fascinating in that the Greeks truly heralded and were the birthers of modern consciousness, of the patriarchy, if you will, and our understanding of ourselves as human. The transition out of the matriarchal societies. And so we have the emergence of Chiron here to usher us across into whatever this transition in human consciousness is, out of the patriarchal society and back in to now the sacred marriage, the blending. There's no longer the need for the sacrificial king. It's as though we have the advent of Chiron here to help us and guide us with the initiatory process, which truly heralds our ability to connect to the golden light without the sacrifice of the animalistic nature of who we are. We don't have to kill that animalistic nature any longer. We are truly meant to be both, which is the teaching of the Magdalene, both heaven and earth, the heaven aspect coming through the earthly domain, the merging of the masculine and the feminine, the outer and the inner. So as you breathe here, coming into your heart and feeling this silvery light swirling around in your heart space, representing that of the feminine, the moon, the silvery moon energy, and feeling that golden light merging into your heart, swirling around the silvers and the golds, two fundamentally different elements, both revered and honored and shamed, and in their own ways put down and diminished. And so for women, as we progress forward in this transition, it's understanding how to hold, actually for both men and women, but for women in particular, how to be the carriers of the divine feminine energy to teach its lessons. And for men, how to be in right relationship with the feminine force and not in question with it, not be too strong and too controlling. That perfect blend, that perfect harmonized balance where we're able to sponsor each and all and everyone in their evolutionary journeys. So I want to have you call in Chiron's ancient healing temple in Greece. Calling that imagery in, imagining really what we have in our modern mythology today, the pillars that stand tall, the Greek columns, if you will. So whatever imagery of Greece as we call in this specific time period comes to the forefront and comes to mind. Wiping out Father Time, the Chronos, as we allow ourselves to be transferred into a divine moment. For no doubt, each of us walked the halls of this ancient healing temple. And so as you begin to tune in, going subtly, going slowly, feeling your feet against the floors of the temple, allowing your imagination to feed what it may have looked like, marble or stone or ornate mosaic relief. Feeling the wide open expanses and the breezes coming off the land in this ancient time. Really lean into your senses. Letting your senses guide, not trying to project too much of what you know, but truly allowing your senses to guide you into this dimensional space, carried forward through the power and the influence that Greek mythology pervades almost every aspect of our life and our culture in the most subtle of ways. So feeling those ancient roots rising to the surface. I had the opportunity a couple years ago to, and I didn't even know it was a thing, but to experience a delicacy of, and I can't remember the name of the tree or the sap, but it's they use the sap and blend it in with ice cream, and I got to experience the ice cream with this ancient sap, only to find out that the ancient sap from this Greek tree, the trees themselves are over 1,000 years old. And I share that so you can feel into that ancient lineage, much like that tree. It's probably hanging on to the side of a cliff face somewhere in Greece. Its roots held fast, reaching in through the cracks and crevices, allowing yourself to reach into the cracks and crevices of your own divine nature. And how that ancientness of this time, much like the tree bearing the sap, is able to be brought up from the earth, from within. And so as we make our way deeper into this Greek temple, this ancient healing temple, feeling the bands of healers and the magicians and the dancers, noticing if you imagine them as male or female. Maybe there's different rooms, different centers, winding your way through the temple to find the central space, much like we envision in the Olympics, that flame burning at the heart of the temple. Go ahead and make your way to this flame. And as you stand here amongst peers, awakening an ancient aspect of yourself, take a moment to notice if you're wearing the traditional white robes that we envision of the toga, of the dress. Do you have any jewelry ordaining your body? Maybe you even see yourself dressed for ceremony with leaves adorning your head like a crown. And feeling the primal force in nature of the gods at this time ruled in the Greek mythology by not only the convergence of man and the gods, but the gods taking interest in humanity in a way that at this time in the evolutionary consciousness of humans' evolutionary consciousness was new. That was a new concept. The gods actually having interest in human and what we are up to and wanting to celebrate and participate or rage against us, against humanity. So feeling how different that force was experienced, and how for human consciousness at this time, also we were dealing with a construct not unlike what we're experiencing now as we herald in technology and AI, and the force of powers that seemingly dictate and orchestrate our lives as we participate in the matrix. If we want to play along, we have to participate. Very hard to completely extract. And feeling into how revolutionary it would have been at that time from the perspective of Chiron to be considered of the feminine and the masculine, of the gods and of humanity. Chiron was the grandson of Father Heaven, Uranus, and Mother Earth. Heaven and earth combined, time and synchronicity, Kronos and Rhea, structure, merging to allow for the advent of the perfect child, the humanity merged with our animalistic nature. So feel into how revolutionary that construct was, and yet how much it laid the foundational pieces. And so as you envision yourself standing here around this flame, calling forward the initiatory process and the gift of the initiatory process, no longer needing to be done behind closed doors and in secret societies, but being able to be heralded by simply blessing our food, you with the power to bless your food, you with the power to commune with the golden light, you with the power to represent the earth and feel what she's needing to be cared and nurtured, you with the power to bless humanity and your people and your tribe. Continuing to breathe in and out, in and out. As you feel the advent of the ceremony commencing, your own initiation, your own ability to bless the work that you do on behalf of God or the gods, wherever and however your construct may be and lie. And as we call forward that ancient tree with the saps that are of 1,000 years old and their sweetness, finding yourself holding a cup to drink that in. And as you feel the warmth, much like a tea being taken in and ingested into your body, you can taste the ancient hillsides of Greece. You can feel the initiatory powers as you imagine this liquid elixir making its way, its sweetness making its way down your throat. And as it does, it calls forward within you that sap, that healing balm that comes with understanding you were born for this, that you do have a destiny, that you do have the power to act on behalf of the heavens, for this is your divine nature. And as you feel that sap taking hold, it awakens within us, within your pineal gland, like a seed of desire, feeling it rising, rising through the earth, like the sap coming up through the tree, rising through your root and up your spine and through your heart, rising through your throat, and directly into the pineal gland at the center of your mind. And there, much like the sap that you drank down, you can feel it pooling in your pineal gland, enlightening your sense of inner vision, awakening in this initiatory process, the fertile grounds for you to go about your day and your days in purpose and in light and in love, no matter how challenging the outer quest may seem, no matter how off balance you may feel with the work that you are up to. Awakening within your inner vision the process and how you have the power to bring the sacredness to the process while blending it with the goals that are before you. And it is the merging of creating this sacredness, weaving this sacredness into the process, no matter how out of alignment you may feel in the outer world, that calls forward an expansion, that calls forward a growth within your own goals. Again, merging the outer and the inner, no matter how insurmountable the tasks may seem. And as we spark this delight, feeling that pineal gland burning, feeling that flame from Chiron's healing temple activating within your mind's eye, burning through the density and the dross, allowing whatever had been blocked to be opened, allowing for the ancient wisdom of the Chiron to guide you through your days, through your weeks, through your projects, and your projections through life in a way that feels like you are on your destined course. Or you are the initiate, you are the Chiron, you are the bringer of what is to come. And it is your pursuit of the journey that is truly the destiny and the answer to the question that we are all posed with in this day and this time. And so with that, I invite you, as you feel that pineal gland burning through, imagining a spark, that fire burning through, and in its stead, a beautiful illuminated light shining in the back of your mind, projecting out through your sense of vision, more light, more expansion, as though someone has turned a light bulb on inside your inner vision. And with that, namaste, so much love,